My name is James Chan from Toll Global Logistics. I hope that the people at the back can hear me. We just returned from Korea last night, so too much shochu and can't really talk too much. And I'm leaving for India this weekend, so curry session again. So generally, I think Toll, being an MNC, is experiencing probably the same issues that SMBs are also experiencing when we adopt cloud. Right? But I'll just have 15 slides to run through so that you can understand some of the issues and the reasons why we moved to cloud. This one, there are 3 slides about Toll. I'm told that if I don't run these 3 slides, I can't come for my COPCOM. Okay, so Toll is a logistic leader in Asia. We are $8.2 billion revenue. Right? There are 4 divisions that we are running, and one of these, Toll Global Logistics, is headquartered in Singapore, right? And Global Freight Forwarding is in Hong Kong. Now, Toll Global Logistics previously was Sembcorp Logistics, right? So we were a logistic arm in Sembcorp Industries, and they decided to sell us away. So, so from a Singapore-owned, we become an Australian-owned company. Toll is very big in Australia. They grew too big, so they can't buy anything else. They came to Asia and buy. So it started in 1888, and today we have about 55 countries. Operating in 55 countries, and we have about 40,000 staff across Asia, right? And what we provide essentially warehousing, transportation for the global side, global logistics side. In terms of freight forwarding, what you talk about inter-country transportations, your freight, your air cargoes, your sea shipment cargoes, and everything. We do all of this, including the last mile, like your DHL and UPS, right? We deliver parcels. Right? Now, within Toll itself, we have a unit called IdeaLab. This unit itself has been doing a lot of process and innovation technology innovation. Right? Recently, we commercialized this unit this year. One of the reasons why we commercialized this unit was because we realized that many customers, besides consuming our core services in terms of logistics and freight forwarding or express, they also consume a lot of technology services from us, right? And we realized that there is a market where we actually can bring up some of these technologies as separate service offering instead of just combining as part of core services. So because some customers may not say want to do with us in terms of warehousing transportation, but they may need some technologies for their own execution operation. Right? So we see this as a potential market, and we say that, hey, why not we actually take technologies out into the market? So we formed this unit itself, and we focus very much in RFID and mobility solutions. Right? So idea is actually take the technology outside of core service offering. So we formed this IdeaLab entity. One of the, just take an example of one of the applications that we took from the stack of technologies that we have within the business and took this, took it out into the market, because there's a need. So one of these application is RFID Asset Management Platform. Right? The idea is actually to have RFID technology supplied onto any assets that you want to manage and you want to track, and have the application hosted on the cloud, so that when the data are collected about the whereabouts of your assets, the conditions of the assets, the status of assets, all this information can be brought up into the cloud, and so that the users themselves can have access to the information. Right? Now, just some technical. Supports AnyTech and any readers, right? Now, so before we bring it out to the cloud, like I said, this is one of the technology stack that we have within the Toll entities. So obviously, it's not cloud then, it's not cloud enabled. So I believe I remember one of the speakers says earlier that you have to actually convert whatever existing application you have into a cloud-enabled application. So previously it was deployed within a Toll data center. Toll itself, we run big data centers in Australia and in Singapore and in Hong Kong, right? So these are data centers within our own businesses. We spend a lot of money, and essentially this carries what I call a predictable base load and service level to support our core business offerings. Like I said, our core business offering is warehousing and transportation, right? So the standard application we use is warehouse management system, freight management systems, and our businesses are essentially very contractual based. When I sign with customer, it's a 3 years contract, right? I handle your global logistics services 3 years. So as I grab all these sales, I have a very predictable load in terms of technology, right? Because we also do a lot of planning between our sales and technologies, so we know and we expect what we will have in terms of IT requirements. But now that we took some of these technologies, instead of just offering as cloud services, take some of these technologies outside of what we can offer, it actually creates unpredictable load for us, right? Because essentially when you want to sell technologies now, then it is no longer like what we are selling, the core services. It's no longer contractual. Anytime somebody says that, hey, James, I like your technology, I need to use it, I want to use it for a year. They may just turn up at the door unannounced or unsolicited. So we have to take them on, but this creates unpredictable load for us. It creates a lot of stress on the data centers. So like I said, although we run very big data centers in Australia, Singapore, and Hong Kong, it's not even enough to really plan and cost the resources. And why it creates this load is because we are talking about RFID, for example, that application itself, we're talking about asset tracking across the globe. So you essentially deploy RFID tags onto any assets that you want to track. You actually have deployments of RFID readers across the globe. So if you're talking about data that's being read and feedback to a single data centers, you can imagine the amount of data that comes in. Especially RFID. RFID is essentially automated data capture, so there's no manual. Anything he reads, he sees, he just pump it back to the data center. So it creates a lot of load, and the IT division head, came to the businesses like us and says, hey, I'm facing big problem to support you. So that comes to a crunch. They say that, hey, if IT people don't support us, then how to do? So don't do that. Then focus back in our core service offering, and then we say that maybe that is not what we want to do, right? But as a business, we always want to venture out, right? Because we feel that technology is something that is very important to us, and technology actually can open up more business as a lead, right? Than traditional BD calling and talking about what we can do as well. So some of those constraints that the IT people came to us and say, infrastructure security. Security, not talking about the security on the service provider or cloud, but more internally to us, because for us we are I don't know if we say it big, but we actually have a lot of corporate governance and policies, right? As a big company. So all these policies start to come into us and says that, hey, we are a $8 billion company and we are doing these services, and you go out and sell technology, how much can you generate? So even if you are generating a $100 million business, it is too small for us to compromise what we have at the back of the mess. So you need to move this risk out from the main business. This is what they say, right? So we need to move this out from the main business. So this is a problem that we have to face. Second thing is that, and because of this, we have many big customers like Procter & Gamble, Unilever. Their requirements in terms of security was very heavy. right? They will say that they will define a lot of requirements in terms of data that we manage within our data centers. So while we offer some of these technologies like asset tracking, they may be very simple. So the data requirement, the security requirement may be a lot lesser than what these existing customers have. So bringing them on in the data center actually opens up possibility of compromise to what we are already committed to the customers. So again, it becomes a bigger risk, imposing a bigger risk to the data center that we have. Second thing is that because of unpredictable scale, a lot of things that we don't know. We don't know whether we need new asset investments. Toll is not afraid of asset investment, right? But we are afraid of buying things that we don't use effectively and efficiently, right? Second thing is the complexity of this, because we are very familiar with what we do internally, but once we outsource or now that we have this new business, we don't know how complicated it can get, right? Human resources also. One of the we thought that one of the strengths was that we actually have such a data centers. We have 3 data centers. We have about 200 IT people across the region. We thought that we can use, but actually we realized that all this, we are so focused in our own businesses, we can't really leverage much. And then priority is always given to the core businesses. Right? Redundancy, distress, recovery, I think that has been discussed before. Acceptable commercial service level, I think this is something new, because with the existing business, we have been in the business for 20 to 30 years, so we know what the customer expects. But now they're going out to sell our services on the cloud, we don't know what the customer wants actually. Most of the time, the customer may not know even what they want. Like KK talked about security, but it's actually quite something far away from them. We haven't even adopted cloud. We talk about the security that is a concern. Existing asset upgrades. So do we upgrade existing ones? Again, same thing. Spend money is okay, but we must spend it correctly. And new technologies that is required, because part of the idea of forming up ideal solutions, besides selling our core technology services, actually is to have an arm into the commercial side. We believe that if we commercialize some of this and go to market, understand the technology, what the market needs, it creates or it gives a very sharp advantage within Toll itself also. Knowing what the market is, developing a technology within the market, learn from the market and bring it back into our own businesses to create competitive advantages against the customer competitors like DHL, UPS. Okay. We have a few customers that begin to adopt focus on the cloud. Standard things that they come to us is that, hey, how quickly can I do some trial and POC? I think this is pain, very headache. Because for our core businesses, 3 years contract, warehousing means warehousing, transportation means transportation, right? There's no such thing as trial and error. It's like you ready, then we sign, and then you pay us, we go. But for technologies like RFID asset tracking, they wanted to try, they wanted to have a proof of concept whether it works or it don't work. So how to do such things, right? Internal resources, like I said, I got those data centers. I cannot be setting up small little instances just for the customer to try for 3 days and then say yes on or no on, all those. So it creates a lot of problem for us also. Second thing actually is short project implementation time. Unlike those services that we offer, we already have infrastructure, IT, everything ready to support our business. So when the business, we grab a warehousing transportation business, we can turn it on within a few weeks. But like I said, we customize RFID asset management platforms for our customers. So they always ask for a very short lead time. I want 3 months, cannot. Yeah, I got this urgent need, can I start it in a month's time? So I say, if I don't have resources, I buy one server also, sometimes it's 3 weeks to 4 weeks. Then how to support you? How you sell? Right? So this is a problem. Next one actually is pay per use and subscription. This is similar to what, but this is actually from the customer, our end, the other customer perspective. They are saying that many of them come to us and say that can I don't buy it? You ask us to buy all these wages and tax and everything, right? I have a business needs to address, but all this investment can be quite painful to us. So the advantage for us, of course, is also that we will buy and then actually we can lease it out to them, right? So for equipments or the services we can buy and then lease out to them, but some of those hosting data centers and everything, right, is quite difficult. Like again, if I don't know what I want to invest in, I cannot be investing ahead. So they say to build the cage first to catch the bird, or catch the bird to build the cage. So tough. So we found that the only thing that can, the only technology that can help us address all those concerns that we have in front actually is to move it out from our data center and host it on the cloud. Right? So we spoke to Microsoft. I think we are a very big customer of Microsoft. But again, that is a big advantage for us because they came to us and then they are very willing to work with us. Unlike clients, you can get your grant and support. But for us, we are not local, we are not SME, we are MNC. We can't really get grants. But Microsoft, because of our business relationship, will come and then there's a lot of things that they help us with. So on the very few layers, infrastructure services, platform and everything, all those pains that we talk about actually lays here. So they actually effectively took all the pain away from us by providing these services, right? And it's very nice of them also to allow us to cut back-to-back service level agreements between the customers that we have, our commitments to them, at the same time what they commit to us to support them. Right? It's very unique. I don't know whether because we are putting some muscles as a customer, but this is something that they help us to do. So they provide all these services, and then our internal engineering team and software development team will take up all these things. Application sits on top of these two areas. So essentially what we do is that we focus on what we do best. We are the technology developers. We develop and focus on business rules, engines and everything. The infrastructure and asset and the platform itself, we gave it out to Microsoft to support us. Right. So this is the platform. So you notice that everything comes through the cloud. The readers are actually collecting a lot of data, pumping through to the data center. So in terms of the capabilities to support it, the service level, everything is all this risk is given to Microsoft to manage. But of course, the implementing now cloud, there are issues that we never had before. Our legal actually spent a lot of time with Microsoft side to trash out. MNC very kiasu, so we protect ourselves a lot. And we have a panel or a group of lawyers waiting to engage any vendors or our partners. So we actually go through a lot of time just to create commercial service levels that is viable for us. We also initially we have some internal conflicts also with IT division because we took this business out without the involvement going out to the cloud. Then there's a little bit of displeasure. They're saying that if it's outside our jurisdiction, then you should not expect us to support anymore. So then it's a bit stunned. We said that, wow, like that how? So if I got a problem with service provider, who's the technical support I can get? So these are things that we also have to address when we outsource it to the cloud, because internally how the IT people feel, right? They give you the problem, but they don't have a solution. So we have a solution, they're not happy. Right? But it's a good thing that I'm in a position to make the correct decision, right? And we say we move on from there, and we force it down to them that they will still have the support, but they have not enough support, but guidance and governance. Like what is required of Microsoft, the security, everything. We actually took our company governance, security policies, a whole stack of it, and then we said that, hey, can you meet all these things? Right? So they help us. That helps us a lot to go to market. Other than that, actually, is like I said, monitoring and consumption. So we actually have a separate group of people just constantly checking the consumption and seeing whether it actually makes really more sense to outsource than to buy our own. So, like I said, this is something still very new to us. We are still trying to understand, if going out to the cloud is actually better. But as of now, as a field, we feel that if it's for those short-term engagement with customers, cloud actually makes a lot of sense. But if it's something long-term with a customer, let's say for example, 3 years service or 4 years, 5 years, maybe it's cheaper to actually invest in servers and everything on site. Because we talk about amortization across the period, right? So actually maybe it's cheaper. But if it's talking about some of those issues that time to market, short time period, some no investment, everything, I think cloud is some of that. Other issue actually is talking to customer also. Some customer will say that cloud, how about security and everything? Then I can only tell them that they can only be better than us, right? Other than that, we also talk to them about the data that we host there. If the security is concerned, then are there data that we don't host that you can use to refer? Let's say, for example, RFID, we only capture the license ID, correct? We don't publish the product we don't publish the quantities and everything, right? So maybe using that, you can see as a number. Even if it's breached, it doesn't have any meaning, right? But internally, you actually can take back some of this information for your own cross reference, and you know that what you are tracking and what it is. So those data up there actually doesn't make sense to somebody that don't understand the environment or don't have something to refer back to. So this is how we address some of those concerns, particularly some of those public sector companies. I think this is about some of those issues. Okay. Yeah. Last slide.
How did you handle upgrades on this RFID cloud?
On the cloud side, the software. Yeah. We actually have a team of developers that do the development. Microsoft actually allows us to have direct access into the platform. They create a virtual machine for us, right? And our development team actually have access. We will do our upgrades and developments, everything in terms of software. But we rely on them to upgrade all their platforms, Windows OS and all this thing. But one of the major concerns was that also that if they do upgrade their, like say for example, Windows Server, new patch and everything, does it affect our apps? So again, we actually have we have a team of people who work together with Microsoft Cloud team very closely. Every time they patch something, they let us know, and we actually do some testing first. We actually create development instance and the production instances.
So when Windows 8 comes out later this year, it's not going to be like an automatic drop on.
One of our agreement with them was that please let us know in a certain time frame. But the good thing here is that when we cross the application from internal proprietary into a cloud environment, right? Microsoft advised us what are the path or in terms of the methodology or how do you develop the application so that we shield ourselves from their upgrades, right? So it's very nice with them. I mean, they actually have some consultants with us and tell us that if we have to redevelop the application, you must develop in such a session, this component must be there and all sorts of things like that, so that if their own platforms continue to upgrade, we will be impacted minimally. So this is something very important if you want to work on the cloud.
So you talk about the reference data is hosted in this virtual environment or hosted in your data center or the customer data center? The reference data. You talk about
the reference data is also on their customer side.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it means
there are many ways to look at this. I mean, they can host it themselves, or they can choose to also still put it in here, so that all they see out there is just cloud for their very non-sensitive access. But the good thing is that now the technology allows us to do a lot of these things. It's really nice. We have opportunity to offer business services, innovative way of earning money. We are also offering subscription basis also. So some of those equipments, we tell customers that you don't buy, we buy in advance and we just lease it out for you to use. So 3 months down the line, if you don't want to use it, you return us the equipment. But we are confident that once you use, it will be with us for a while, long time.
Just from a technology point of view, software side, is it a lot of effort to convert your software from on-premise to maybe it's a multi-tenancy kind of environment?
Let me see, I think it took us 9 months.
Quite substantial.
Yeah, 9 months to address all those, because like the chart itself, all this data collection software will have to change a bit, right? Because it's going through the internet, the information must be able to, on real time at the same time, be able to store and forward if the info drops because of the internet, right? And back here, the Microsoft platform itself, they have what web role, server role, all those other things, so that their intent actually to make sure that the system is robust. So essentially, we tear the whole application apart and then we develop it from scratch for 9 months. That's the investment that we put inside in this application. But that's what I like about Toll. The thing is, we believe in something, we will do it. But we feel that that's what we do, we will create business value. But the infra side is something that's different, right? Because the business layer, we are confident, but in terms of infra side, we don't know whether it's less or what, all those other things.
How do you handle the auditors as a listed company in terms of the auditing the cloud operations?
This is something that we just started about 6 months to a year back. It is still not in the auditor.
Not in the radar yet.
That's why the important thing, why our IT guys were saying that, hey, please bring this out from the data center that we have. So first, mitigating the risk, take it out.
Mm-hmm.
Second thing is that when you find out there, it's a separate business then to Toll. So by the time they audit, right, we are the last one already. So we must be ready. Some of those things, we are already talking to Microsoft to say, some of those things, how do we protect, like say, data protection, privacy, and everything. This is something that is in the books. That's why I say that a lot of effort actually to handle.
So they do allow your auditors to, so to speak, to inspect. Microsoft allows certain.
They may not allow them to go and see the facilities, but they may provide the information to the auditors. Yeah, and we did consult our internal. We have both internal and external because we are listed in Australia. So the internal auditors has no issue with that. The only thing is that, but anyway, the business is small. It may not be significant that we have to put a lot of effort to make sure that. But like I said, once it comes to a sizable customer, let's say for example a very significant customer, then we may not adopt cloud. Let's say if it's that this guy don't play with them, then we better be very careful. Then we will offer on-site installation. Those customers that are doesn't mean that they're small. It means that they are not important. It's just that they have lesser requirement in terms of all these things, right? And their scope is smaller and everything. So they don't want to invest in all this infrastructure. So what we do is pick up a few of these customers and then we share the cost out of it, right? So we go to Microsoft and say, hey, I'm going to buy from you a big package. From this thing, I sell out to my customer again. So everybody benefits. Of course, I earn
a lot.
So, one question. Have you evaluated other cloud providers? And if yes, what were the selection criteria that you used before you select Microsoft Azure?
Microsoft has a bit of benefit because of our deals with them in Australia. Right? there is a relationship I can't divulge, but it's driven in Australia. That's one. Second thing actually is that our application is very much Microsoft based also, right? So Microsoft provides, like I said, this tier. A lot of, then about a year back or 9 months back, most of the cloud they offer this infrastructure only, right? So infrastructure means that I still must maintain this level, and then all those Microsoft servers and everything I still must do. But Microsoft is very smart. They actually offer this together with this. I actually don't anticipate really for all this problem. So it's quite a natural choice to be working with them, unless we decide to not consume all of their all this development environment and everything and move on to another platform. But as far as we're concerned, there are some, big companies sometimes they always say that, for this next 5 months, we are all Microsoft oriented. The day when Microsoft don't give us a good price, then we right? Then after that, they come back to the table again, then we, go back. So it's
After you've gone to the cloud, has there been any issues of downtime, business loss, or anything?
Downtime. Interesting you ask me that. So obviously I have not heard of downtime yet. So because I don't recollect any. It's pretty good, I think. I don't know, is it because of our application that's good, or is that like I said, I don't know. This is where they provide the platform and say get the infrastructure, but is it the robustness of the application and the business, the engines and everything that is creating this thing? I'm not very sure. Again, it's something that we evaluate, right? And if we are very sure it's our application that is a strong one that's doing all these things, then Microsoft is not. I believe they are good in a sense. They are good. I think there is something in Singapore, Hong Kong, and Europe. Right, but I at least to a certain extent, we know where our instances are being hosted.
I'm just wondering, so like you said before that you were using Microsoft stack of technology, but the porting to Azure wasn't so straightforward, is it? You still have to pretty much develop from scratch.
Correct. Because the way the hosting is created, or the platform, and the application that we developed quite a few years back, the methodology is very different.
Right. So you could have moved to another platform, but because of corporate decision.
Correct. We could have, but it's actually to us. We also weigh the cost. The cost for us to move to Microsoft is cheaper than we move to platform, because we are existing pool of developers across the region. So not enough is always then call developer from China or from India or something like that. But this is the advantage where we can actually leverage on some of our strength and numbers to do all these things quite easily for us.
So one more question. Before switching from on-premise to a cloud-based solution, did Microsoft allow you to review the architecture design? Because for your on-premise architecture, you have certain knowledge about its resiliency and so on and so forth. So before you make that switch from on-premise to cloud, do you actually review the resiliency of, let's say, Microsoft Azure architecture?
Did
they allow you to review? Did they prove to you that my architecture can support up to this 5 9 6 9?
Prove.
Or rather, was that?
I think there is some discussion about that, right? But there are, I wouldn't say proof. There's a certain level of trust between us, that this is the service I require and this is what they can offer. So like some of the speakers were saying that there's a certain level of trust that has to happen. If there's no trust, then very difficult. So how to drill them is very difficult to drill them. So like you said, the data center is of course they're supposed to load balance. You don't know whether the processing goes to Europe and Hong Kong come back again, then how to track? Very difficult. So it's similarly like what the customer would think of us that we offer to them the cost services, warehouse transportation, because we carry their products, we update the information into our system, and we open up to share with the customers, right? So how do they know if their data are being managed? Also, of course, we try as much as possible to prove to them, but there's a certain level of trust, a certain level of brand trust, I think, I have to say, brand trust. And that's why we are very, very, why some companies spend a lot of money building that brand and protecting the brand. The brand trust carries a lot of weight for such a good manager. When something is new, there's no documenter. So if I trust you, let's walk the road. I don't trust you. Yes. Thank you.
Is there any other questions?
I'm sorry, I would like to stay back, but I need to prepare for my trip to India. So,
Thanks. Okay.
But my email is there. If you need to send me any other questions, please. If I can answer, answer. If I cannot answer, then I'll just tell you that, confidential. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.